2020 is nearly over! Yeah! And for a slight diversion for the channel, I'm going to talk about video games, or precisely games on the Switch I played this year. Normally I'd be talking about board games, but my favourite board games this year were Lost Ruins of Arnak. Lost Ruins of Arnak? Lost Ruins of Arnak. Oh, I only played one new 2020 board game. The Lost Ruins of Arnak. It was really good. Parenthood, COVID, and moving countries has done quite a number on my board gaming time, but what I have been doing is playing quite a few video games. If you don't have a Switch, then don't worry, because the vast majority of the titles I played this year are on other platforms, and all but one of the games on this list weren't even released this year. So consider this an opportunity to be reminded of the cool games that you always meant to play but haven't had a chance to. And also stick around at the end for the honourable mentions. Right, let's go! Super Mario Odyssey in 10th? A game that topped lists the year it came out? Yeah. It's a solid game, polished to that Nintendo shine. It has lots of cool ideas and callbacks, especially to Mario 64 and Super Mario Bros., but I couldn't shake this feeling of emptiness. Not in terms of level design, the game is crammed full of things to find and neat ideas. There are some cracking set pieces too, yet it never quite fulfilled me in the way that I wanted. I think it's mostly down to how cheap many of the collectible moons are. They come so quick and so easy that the game seems to lack major achievements to build up to, beyond the limited number of story set pieces. Wow, I feel like all I'm focusing on is what I saw as negatives to justify Mario's low position on this list, because Mario's movement is pretty wonderful and the capture mechanics certainly raise a smile, and by the end of the game I was starting to enjoy things more. The levels got more interesting and challenging, but the Odyssey was pretty much over by that point. Perhaps I'm cooling on Mario. Maybe I need something that's a bit more challenging to really light up my life. Well, Downwell certainly has the challenge down. Dropping like a stone through an inconceivably deep well packed with monsters with only your gun boots to keep you safe and to slow your fall. It's a quite brilliant game utilising just a single button. Shoot to kill, shoot to slow down, bounce on enemies to reload your ammo and preserve your combo. You're on a wild ride into danger on the very edge of control and chaos. Whether you treat Downwell as a little treat you dip into for a brief experience, or something you persevere at for hours like I did in trying to reach the bottom and save your cat, there is much to admire in a design that does so much with so little. Rayman Legends continues to surprise me. I started playing anticipating a quick blast through levels here and there as a break from the slower pace of an RPG. Fling a fist that way and forget it. And yet, weeks after beating the final boss, such as that was, and I'm still playing it. If anything, it's even more shocking in the context of my criticisms of Mario Odyssey. Rayman Legends is seemingly entirely devoid of story, meaning, or purpose. Okay, there are lots of bad guys doing nasty things, like being in Rayman's way and kidnapping the Smurfs, but there doesn't seem to be any grand plan, just an excuse for a huge bunch of levels and other platforming challenges. The thing is, the levels are so good, and the challenges, whether they're exploring to find the Teen Seas or speedrunning procedurally generated levels online, are so addictive in small doses that I've kept chipping away at the long climb toward completion. Even though it has a similarly odious number of collectibles as Mario Odyssey, the small number per level makes it easy to feel progress with only a short blast, and completing a full stage feels like the larger achievement that always eluded me in Odyssey. Thumper is an experience. It's honestly something difficult to put into words, and even watching videos of the game just doesn't translate. The experience is something primal. Okay, take a step back. You can describe Thumper simply. It's a rhythm game. A hard rhythm game. a dark, brutal rhythm game. It's not about beating your high score, it's about survival. And so the music isn't jaunty pop tunes, but, well, it's barely music. It's just beat. As you guide your bug along the literal track, your crashing turns and smashing dives adds a violent melody that speaks to the animal inside. If combat can be a dance, then dance can be combat. Maybe golf can also be combat? Golf Story marries golf to RPG-style gameplay and, as the title suggests, something approaching a story. A hero's journey from amateur to golfing champion. But there were some character elements that felt unresolved, particularly between the main character and his dismissive wife. He had hardly won the respect of the Pro Tour either. Because of that, it felt like something of an origins story. Sequel soon? I would be down for that. The story emphasises silliness. Every character is exaggerated, situations and courses are often ludicrous, and the many bits of optional side content even more so. From the various local animals stealing your ball to playing a round of golf for a ghost. Honestly though, the golf system is so good that I kind of wish there was a selection of normal courses just to experience straightforward play. But it's not really a knock. When I was much younger, I adored a little series called Advance Wars, but it was eventually left by the roadside like so many burnt out tanks. But the fans wanted more. It fell to a whole new studio to relight the flame with their own medieval fantasy themed title, Wargroove. And it is so good. At least, it grabbed me right in the nostalgia. The mechanical core of the game is almost exactly the same. There is a clear one-to-one mapping between the Wargroove units and their Advance Wars equivalents. But there are some important differences that does give it a flavour all of its own. And if you've not experienced an Advance Wars game, that and Wargroove are just excellent tactical strategy war games in the vein of Fire Emblem, but with laser-targeted focus at the combat strategy rather than RPG mechanics and permadeath characters. It frees you up to enjoy and experiment without so much pressure. They are a joy to play.
Never see me coming.
Mario's back! And at number 4. Clearly it's not him that's the problem. I just like old games more? Oh no, I'm not turning into one of those curmudgeons, am I? Super Mario Bros. 35 is the free, with Nintendo Online, multiplayer Mario game, and I love its implementation. I admire it. It's Mario 1, but you send enemies you kill to the other players, trying to be the last one standing. The levels can be challenging enough on their own, and now you will get the craziest quantities of enemies filling your screen. But actually that's okay, because you can spend coins at any time to get yourself a power-up, saving you so long as you can gather enough coins. And killing enemies is the only way to top up the extraordinarily tight timer. You are rewarded for playing aggressively, which has always been the most satisfying way to play these games. It is incredibly hard to win, there are some brutally good players out there, and to really compete you need to learn the locations of all the useful items, coins and one-ups. So I can understand if people bounce off it, but I have had a riotously good time. You don't have a riotously good time with the Banner Saga. The end of the world is no laughing matter, but you do have an emotionally poignant one. Though at least from the comfort of your own sofa you can laugh at your own incompetent leadership. The Banner Saga takes you on a long walk through a Viking-esque world invaded by an overwhelming enemy. You are powerless in the face of it, your only hope is to flee with your caravan of villagers and any other stragglers you may pick up along the way to somewhere, anywhere that might offer you safety. That means making the difficult decisions, trying to manage your supplies, when you never know what is around the next corner. It's tough, and you are left with the distinct impression that no matter what you do, there are no truly right answers. Then there is the very satisfying tactical combat element. one fairly unique mechanically that provides a wonderful counterbalance to the story-type decisions. I perhaps found strength in the clean-cut decisions of combat over the uncertainty of management, and that perhaps tells me something about myself. I am certain to return for part 2, not too long in the future. Prepare to die, and all that cheery stuff.
Yes, indeed.
I loved Dark Souls. Yes, I'm very late to Gwyn's retirement party, but what can I say? I only ever buy Nintendo consoles. It deserves much of its reputation as a hard, punishing game, but where some bounce off, I was able to make grinding progress through the challenges and come out the other side a triumphant undead. The feeling of elation when succeeding where once a challenge felt insurmountable is powerful enough to all but hide the pain in memory. It's quite amazing in that regard. And many other regards, from the incredible world design and atmosphere to the deliberate combat mechanics and enemies. There's little I can say about Dark Souls that hasn't already been said 1,000 times over. Even YouTube video essayists echo Dark Souls' cyclical motifs. So I shall just acknowledge that no, Dark Souls is not for everyone, but if it is for you, it is for you. Where Dark Souls was about overcoming a great mechanical challenge, Gris wants you to join in the journey to overcoming an emotional one. A lone girl who has lost her voice, journeying through a land devoid of colour. Yet as you progress, solving the light puzzles and platforming challenges in your way, colour returns to the world. The nameless girl learns to sing again, and with it, brings a dead world back to life. Gris is about sorrow, grief, depression perhaps. Like the best art, it reflects back what you bring to it in that regard. But however you interpret the game, the experience is one of joy, keeping the darkness that plagues you at bay and restoring a world that at your lowest may have seemed dead and without hope. It is gorgeous, meaningful and beautiful in a way that reaches further than merely looks, all the way into your very soul. There is no other game that has made me feel quite like Gris has, and that's why it is my number one game. Thank you so much for watching! I know this isn't normally what we cover on the channel, so an extra big thank you for sticking around all the way till the end. I hope you found something that you'd like to try. Let me know if there are any Switch titles you've played this year that I should add to my very long wish list. And while you're doing that, let's talk about some honourable mentions. Final Fantasy X. The first Final Fantasy game that I've put a good effort into, and I feel very much like it has rewarded me for that effort. I've really enjoyed it, but I've not quite finished it, so I couldn't add it to my main list. Ring Fit Adventure. I'd like to say this has kept me fit through the challenges of the last year. Goodness knows a lot of people have tried to get hold of a copy for that reason. But I'd be lying. I was thoroughly impressed, but being in a mid-floor flat was not the best place to try and play it, and I have slowly slid into my dad bod since the move. Maybe next year? Yoku's Island Express. A lovely imaginative mix of Metroidvania and pinball that is delightfully imaginative, but not as long nor as creative in the unlockable abilities as I would have liked. A charming way to spend a few hours, though. SteamWorld Dig 2. A game that I think is better than my mental state at the time would allow me to appreciate. Another unique spin on the Metroidvania genre that deserves attention. Super Mario Bros. Yes, the original from before I was even born. I've actually been trying to beat it straight, and you know what? It is surprisingly challenging. Just because you beat Dark Souls, Matt, does not mean you're an unstoppable gamer. So that is, unsurprisingly, it for 2020. It has been a stupidly busy year for me. I'm hoping, though, that 2021 will bring a bit more opportunity for filming, for writing, for creating more videos. Maybe the vaccine will even let Robin and I meet up again and film some Witches Greaters. One can only hope. Until then, though, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have an excellent start to 2021.